John, really great to be chatting to you today. And of course, this year is really very significant for you. It's the 21st anniversary of JPR. So my question to you really is, how has everything changed over those 21 years?
It's changed quite a lot over the last 21 years. It started off as a small company with just myself, growing wetland plants for the landscaping industry and specialising in the water treatment industry. Based at the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust at Slimbridge, opened up in partnership with them, and quite quickly it developed into more of a wetland landscaping company, specialising in wetland treatment and water landscapes, especially on business developments where there's a wildlife issue.
Within that, John, the key for me as well in terms of how that's changed is today you don't just do wetlands, do you?
No, we don't just do wetlands, though. That's quite a large part of our work. But about 50% of our work is based on development sites where there's a wildlife issue, ranging from badgers, nesting birds, everyone's favourite, the great crested newt, but habitat design and habitat implementation as mitigation for development work has become a core part of our business recently.
Thank you, John. And also, John, how have you seen that individuals and companies have changed their stance on being more environmental in terms of the things they do?
I think companies in general have become a lot more environmentally aware these days. When we first started 20 years ago, it was very much seen as something that they had to do because they were told to do. These days, it's become much more a core part of what many companies are trying to do, both within their own company and their social sort of responsibility, but also as part of the sales for the housing or the development is often based on the landscape in which those developments take place. And if they can show and if they can prove that they've undertaken the development in a wildlife friendly manner, but also that those wildlife spaces and those conservation corridors are available for the users of those developments after post implementation, that goes a long way to selling the whole scheme.
Also with that, you mentioned the Wildlife and Wetlands Trust at Slimbridge and your fantastic relationship with them. And I know this year is their 75th, and this year, obviously for yourself, is your 21st. And I know that you're looking to do something very special with them in terms of a corporate sponsorship this year. Yes,
we've got a very close relationship with the team at the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust at Slimbridge. I myself worked there as a warden when I first graduated, so I know some of them particularly well. And we've had a close relationship over the years. Many times we've been working there as contractors, and this year we've decided to sponsor the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust at Slimbridge, both through the corporate with a core donation, but also some of the equipment that the reserve team uses on the grounds there for the internationally important wintering habitat that they provide.
I have to ask John as well a really interesting question for me, probably two questions. Over the 21 years, what's probably one of the projects that sticks in your mind as one of the most memorable projects that JPR have worked on?
I think for my mind, some of the most sort of interesting projects of those that have involved the treatment of water using some of the natural systems. So it's ranged from sewage treatment plants down at the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust to using reed beds for treatment of timber yard runoff. Anything where there's flowing water involved, it's amazing how quickly the wildlife can move in. So my particular favourite is working in mid Wales, at a place called Bilth-Wells. It's a company, BSW Timber. They have a natural reed bed system that treats the runoff from the timber yard there. That's particularly attractive, being in the Welsh valleys with red kites flying over and lesser spotted woodpeckers in the trees. So that's one of my favourite ones.
And for you, I'm sure last year was the 20th anniversary, but it was obviously the pandemic was here. But I do know that one of the projects you worked on very close to home had national recognition in terms of the Horsley Stream project. How important was that to you, and how excited was it when you saw it had some national recognition?
So it's always nice to work locally in your local region, and we've worked with Stroud District Council on some of the headwaters of the Froom at a place called Horsley. And it was re-engineering a channel that had been straightened over the years, probably in Victorian times for drainage. And so it was damming the stream and then re-engineering it over the field. This also provided some flood attenuation scheme for further down in Stroud, that's particularly prone to flooding during high summer rainfall events. So the ponds and leaky dams. And it's always fantastic when any of the schemes that we're involved with do earn the recognition that sometimes goes unheralded.
John, what does the company look like today? You know, what would tell us a little bit more about your team?
So we've grown over the years quite organically to now we've got a very dedicated core team of workers. So we've got project managers who can take their jobs from inquiry through to completion. We've got job supervisors, work supervisors for on the grounds, managing the teams on the day-to-day. And then we've got a core group of staff who are all used to undertaking landscaping work, but with a mind to protection of the wildlife involved. This can be supplemented by a number of trusted subcontractors that we use, both for some of their heavy machinery work and for some of the specialist work that we get involved with these days.
On many of your projects, ecologists are very key to that, and I know you have a fantastic relationship with ecologists. What makes that relationship so special from a JPR perspective?
It's very special, our relationship with a number of ecologists, and we see ourselves really as a go-between between the ecologists and the developers. And really we see our role as making true or making happen the plans that ecologists have put forward as mitigation and as works that are improving the ecology on the site. So there's a number of, over the years we've worked with on a number of projects, and I think where we come into from their point of view is that we're someone who can understand the needs and understand the plans that they've drawn up and the reasons behind some of their mitigation plans that they put forward to developers. And sometimes it's chalk and cheese, the ecology world and the development world, and sometimes we like to see ourselves as somewhat bringing those two together.
So John, it has been challenging times, but where do you now see JPR going into the future?
So it certainly has been challenging, Phil, over the last 12 months. I mean, I don't think there's been a company that hasn't been affected, both through obviously the changes in practices and the restrictions that have been in place. We feel we've come out strongly, and with our core team, and indeed we were particularly busy, strangely, last year. Where I see us going forward, we've got some core companies and core organisations that we've worked for, that we repeatedly work for, a number of the wildlife trusts and a number of the development companies. And we see that relationship only growing over the next few years, as obviously with wildlife interest and interest in nature conservation does grow. And developers are taking more and more responsibility and more care about the work that they undertake. And I really see us growing well and developing with those companies who are forging along those lines.
John, I've got one final question, and I have to ask it. You know, are there any humorous moments that really stand out in your mind over the last 21 years?
Usually the humorous moments often come about if you're involved with water and water engineering, working on ponds and lakes. Inevitably there's occasions when things don't go quite to plan. And normally I find if you're wearing Wellington boots or wearing waders, you're always just at a limit of pushing the limit with the level of water. And I must admit to there being one or two occasions where it's gone over the waders, and I've ended up being thoroughly drenched all through the rest of the day.